Hello, everybody. Welcome to From Darkness to Light Recovery Coaching. I'm your host, TJ, Coach TJ, or LJ, if y'all, whichever one you want to call me. Thank you guys for joining me for this episode. If you guys like the commentary, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification button to receive notifications of my videos. I am a certified recovery life coach, all about helping people on their paths, their journeys, and their purpose to a new and better you through self discovery. Now, if you're interested in one on one coaching or you are going through something and you just want to send me a letter, or if you want to be a guest on my podcast, you can basically go to my email address, which is asha.mariama01@gmail.com. That's asha.mariama01@gmail.com. Now, this conversation, I don't know how people are going to take it, first of all. I don't know how people are going to feel about it. I don't know how people are going to think about it, but I am someone that's going to be completely transparent because I need to be completely and utterly transparent. I am someone that's in a process of the journey that I am about to teach my clients about. The journey that is one of the most hardest journeys to have to go on, but it is one you're going to have to do in order to survive in this world. Um, by me being the guinea pig and going through it by myself, is how I'm going to help others go through this journey, because there is no way in the world you can go through this journey by yourself. And a lot of people wouldn't be able to survive. If I wasn't as mentally strong as I am, I probably wouldn't have made it through this situation. But God has been with me every step of the way. And the reason that I'm on this path is because God put me here. God put me on the path because for years I have been a people pleaser, seed filler, Captain Save a Hoe, Build a Bear, Build a Doll, and a seed filler. I just want people to completely and utterly understand that. I have been through a lot of trauma. I have been through a lot of stuff because I have focused more on other people than I have myself. I have allowed people to do negative things to me that basically I shouldn't have allowed in the first place. Um, what I want people to understand is that this world can be a very hard place to be. It can be a very, very hard situation to live up to or to live with. Um, it is one of the most truthful discoveries that you will ever go through. But when you get to the end of the tunnel, it's going to be worth it, because going through all of that is going to make you a very strong individual. And when you get back out into the world, there's nothing that's going to stand in the way of your greatness that you can avoid. Now, mind you, there are things that you're not going to be able to avoid, and there will be things that you will be able to avoid. So I'm just going to go at it from this perspective. I want people to understand that life is what you make it and with whom you choose to make it with. Now, through this journey, what I've learned about myself is what a true lie actually is. A lie is not just about the word of mouth, a lie is about your perception of the lie, is what makes it a lie. What makes it a lie is how you deceive yourself into believing the lie. So it's not that what this person is saying is a lie, it's your interpretation of how you feel about it. Now, mind you, this person could be telling the truth, but if the actions and the behavior and the choices and decisions does not match that, then it doesn't really matter. Now, does it? What I want people to understand and grasp is that you've been told for many years that being alone means something is wrong with you. That being alone means that basically, essentially, nobody likes you. Nobody wants to be your friend. Nobody wants to be around you. You've been told for many years that you're never going to get married. You're never going to have a relationship. That if you don't fit society's standards, that you just never going to belong. Well, I have found that maybe that may not be such a bad thing. Why? Because I'm not alone. God is with me. It wouldn't matter if everybody walked out on my life tomorrow. I would still be okay because I still would be able to survive by myself. So, what makes being around people beneficial to a person that is constantly being abused? Someone that is trying to cope, somebody that ends up on drugs, alcohol, they end up unalived, in jail, prison for the rest of their life. They end up sexually assaulted and molested. And all of this is because you said people need to be around people. Now, don't get me wrong. With the right type of people that to be around, absolutely. If you're around the right people. But if you are not around the right people, then no. That's where the problem is. So what I need people to understand is I get it. I do. Being alone is scary because when you walk outside your door and you see all these couples together and you feel like, well, okay, I just want to be loved. I just want somebody to care about me. We all want that because that's what we were taught to believe. But love is not something you should have to fight for. Love shouldn't have to be where you have to jump through hoops and bounds to make that happen. If you got to go through all of this just for someone to accept you, then you need to leave them where they are. Like I said, I get it. I absolutely understand it. But at the end of the day, the fact that you got a person who claims to love you, who claims to care about you, and they don't, a person who you thought was going to give you everything, a person who you thought was going to have your back and support you through your time of need, come to find out that ain't what they're going to do. The people who you thought was going to believe in you when no one else did, that was going to have your back when no one else was going to have it, is a problem. So what I want people to understand is when you live your truth and your happiness, that's yours. I understand you want to please people and make everybody else happy. I get it. But this ain't the way to do it. You're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to make everybody love you. And you certainly are not going to have what someone else has. What someone else has is meant for them. But the problem is you got people that want to steal what you have. And they want to take it from you because they feel that it's better for them. So, in other words, let's just say you've been with a man for a number of years and you end up getting married, let's say, and y'all build a family and you build a life. And then all of a sudden, this person comes along that all of a sudden steals your husband. That all of a sudden, even if they can't steal your husband, will do anything to take him from you. And now you have no idea who your enemy is. This person is befriending you to get to your husband or your wife, for example. So now you have somebody that's befriending you to basically get to your spouse. Or another example of this would be someone that is basically essentially doing something to hurt someone else. Now, is it worth it? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, you're going to have people that's going to want to see you absolutely miserable, that want to see you in a very volatile situation. They want to see you broken. They want to see you not have nothing. You have a lot of friends that are jealous of you because you're accomplished. There was a situation where some friends tried to poison a young lady because of the fact of her success and what she had. You got people who you think are your friends that will turn on you in a heartbeat, that will destroy everything you stand on, that will unalive you, that will sleep with your husband or your wife, that will have you sitting in prison the rest of your life, all because they want to see you broken and miserable and lonely and bitter. That's how they want to see you. They want to see you in this place of where nobody will ever accept you, nobody will ever like you. You got young kids that are being bullied. You have people that are to the point they commit suicide. You have people that are addicted to drugs due to other people, not because of themselves. It wasn't like they made the decision because they chose to do drugs and alcohol. Not everybody, but for some. But the vast majority were influenced by other people. It's influences that cause addictions. It is peer pressure that causes addiction. It is wanting to be loved, liked, appreciated, valued, wanted, needed to be a part of something, to be validated, to be approved of, to be accepted, for somebody to know your worth and proving something to people. That is what and why people end up with addictions. Not only that, you also have being people pleasers, Captain Save-A-Hoes, Build-A-Bears, and Build-A-Dolls is why you end up in addiction. You're not in an addiction because you just woke up one morning and said, I'm going to just go and have an addiction. No. There are extenuating circumstances. Having your job can be a reason why you can end up being hooked on drugs. It can be everything from being at a party and being pressured into doing drugs. There are a lot of females that, if they look back at their situation, are going to be like, they really didn't want to have sex in the first place, but yet they did. So that's why I said, I want people to understand that when you start looking at your life and looking at everything, when I tell you, you're going to be extremely pissed off, you're going to be mad. Why? Because you could have been on a completely different path if you would have waited to make friends. If you would have just learned how to socialize without bringing people in your life personally until you were an adult and you were where you wanted to be, and then start making friends and then start basing relationships, you'd be amazed how happier you would be. You went against your parents for people that are going to betray you way worse, because these are people who you trusted. These are people who you thought were your friends and they were not. So I get the fact that you think that, okay, I'm meeting people that make it seem like you're able to do what it is that you want to do. But the truth is, you can't do what you want to do. Nowhere in the world can you do what you actually want to do. So even though you want to do certain things, even though you want to basically do all of these things, but you can't, unfortunately. So what I will tell you is, stop trying to follow the rabbits down the rabbit hole. Addiction can be in many forms. It can be mental addiction, psychological addiction, emotional addiction. It can also be financial addiction. When it comes to your internal and external addiction. So depending on what the addiction is and what it affects determines how it's treated. So I'll give you an example. If you have someone that's addicted to prescription pills, the reason why they're addicted to the prescription pills is not because of the same reason as someone who got on hooked on drugs because they were at a party. This person is hooked on prescription drugs to basically get rid of the pain. Now, you have other people that are hooked on drugs to get rid of the pain, but it can be mental trauma. Now, trauma can be mental, it can be all of these things. But let's say the person that got hooked on prescription pills was because they had an accident or they got hurt playing football and the doctor gave them opiates and they ended up addicted because they can't get rid of the pain, for example. Now, whereas another person that basically is having mental challenges can be addicted for a whole different reason. And that's what I want people to understand, that it's not going to be easy to be in these journeys because it just isn't. So I get the fact that for some of you, you may feel like that your addiction, every addiction is the same. They're not. Just like you can be addicted to being a people pleaser. You can be addicted to wanting to be in a relationship. You can be addicted to having children. You can be addicted to food. So you can be addicted to many different things. But the question is, where is the addiction stemming from? So we have to get to the root cause of the addiction. And then once we get to the cause of it, then we can treat it. But the problem is, majority of people go back to the addiction because of dopamine. Dopamine is what causes your addictions. That happy place. Anything that's going to make you feel good, that's going to distract you from negativity, is how you end up with addictions. But you don't understand that these things that are making you happy are the cause of your addiction. Because when the person walks away or that thing messes up your health and wellness, that thing that makes you so happy, that thing that you know is bad for you, but you want it because it feels good, not understanding the consequences and repercussions and karma of it. So I get the fact that this can be very easy to do. But what I would recommend is you need to be alone to figure it out as far as that addiction. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't recommend anybody do what I'm doing right now. I don't. I recommend having a therapist, a life coach, and a medical doctor. But I do have the medical doctor part of it. But the psychological, I'm pretty much doing on my own. Now, is it going to be easy when it comes to facing yourself? Nope. Because you're going to feel like something is wrong with you and you can't understand why all of this is happening. It's happening to you because number one, your parents put expectations on you that you couldn't live up to. Number two, your parents weren't there for you because they were trying to figure it out because they had you at a young age. For some, they weren't financially able to take care of you. So there's no way they can protect you if they're at work all day. So there's really no way that you can be protected if your parents are at work all the time. How in the world can they protect you when there's no way that they can? So, what I want people to understand is it's not going to be an easy journey. I promise you, it's not. But when you start realizing the lies you've been told and your direction was not based on you from the day you were born, was based on everybody else. Now, you have some parents that do base it on what their child wants, but not for the right reasons. You have a lot of kids in the industry that are completely screwed up because of the fact of what happened to their They weren't able to be in the industry. So now they're going to use your talent to basically make money off your children, unfortunately. So being the fact that this is a situation that is going on, unfortunately, you have to basically accept it for what it is. So even though you may feel like that when you get older, you're going to your mother and you're saying to your mother, "Where is my money?" And your parents tell you, "Oh, by the way, I spent all your money." So now this child who worked since they were a kid in the industry has nothing to show for anything they've done, because this child has not only benefited their parents, but they also benefited everybody else in the industry. So now this child is broke. Now this child has nothing to show for any of their accomplishments because their parents basically use their talent as a way to basically get paid. Now, is that fair to that child? Absolutely not. Mm-mm. It's not fair at all. In any capacity, is it fair? But in the eyes of, you know, everybody else, that's what they seem to think. Now, I get the fact that for a lot of people, you think you did everything because it's what you want to do. Nope. You did it because everybody else pressured you into doing it. Or you didn't have a choice. Or you were in a situation where you felt like if you didn't prove your worth to this person, that you were going to lose the person. So that is how most people get you, by making you believe that if you don't do what this other person is expecting you to do, that pretty much you're going to end up alone with no friends, no family. So now you feel pressured, even though this is not what you want to do, but because you love these people, you're willing to do anything and everything to make them happy. But then when it comes to your happiness, they don't care nothing about it at all. They don't care about your happiness. They don't care about what you've been through. They don't care, period. So even though you have worked hard to be the best version of yourself, even though you're up here being a people pleaser and making everybody else happy and benefiting everybody else through your talents, through everything that you do. So an example of this can be you have a sibling that can't do no wrong, that gets in trouble every chance they get, but guess who they blame? They blame you. So I'll give you a situation, a scenario, an African folk story. There was a young girl whose parents always put their sister before her. Okay. So what ended up happening was they ended up she ends up leaving because the guy that basically she was always in love with was in love with her sister. And the only reason she wanted the boy was because her sister wanted him. This girl couldn't do no wrong. She could basically be as flighty as she wanted to be, but yet you couldn't be. You can never get away with what she got away with. You were always put at the bottom while this person was put on a pedestal. And if they did something wrong, they blamed you, saying to you, well, why is it that this person did this? Um, because of the fact they wanted to do it. But at the end of the day, they sat there and blamed you for your sister's behavior, knowing it ain't your responsibility. Well, anyway, what ends up happening is the girl ends up going away and leaving and not marrying the boy that wanted to marry her. Well, now there's an embarrassment situation, so now they got to figure out what they're going to do because it'll ruin their reputation. What do? They ask the sister, will she marry the boy that is not in love with her, the boy that does not want to be with her, the boy that wants absolutely nothing to do with her at all? And so, even though she doesn't want to marry him this way, she marries him, and then within 3 years, not only did she get pregnant, But now he's saying he wants to end the marriage because her sisters are back, and now he wants to marry her. So now this girl is pissed off because she married a man that didn't love her, married a man that wasted her time, that she could have been with someone else besides him. But that is not what the circumstance was. So now it's a question of, what do we do now? So now what do we do? So now we're in a situation where basically, essentially, this person is now realizing her family never cared about her in the first place. It was all about bailing them out of a bad situation. So what does she do? She stands up for herself. But in the meantime, he has a brother that basically has always cared about her, always liked her. They're basically, essentially, really, or half brother, I should say. So anyway, the half brother is the one that decides to be there for her. But at first, she didn't like him at first. But then as she got to know him, she grew to care about him. And so he kept saying the baby wasn't his. So as she started to move on, the ex gets pissed off because of the fact that he comes to the realization that basically, essentially, she's moved on. So now he's mad because she has moved on with someone else that basically shows and proves that they're caring, that they care about her. So now we're in this situation. So that's pretty much what happened. So now, as time goes on, she's now moved on. She had her baby, and now she's happy with the life that she has pretty much created. And now he's coming saying to her that he didn't end up marrying her sister. And so she's like, okay, cool. You didn't marry her. That has nothing to do with me. So anyway, what ends up happening is her family comes in and they decide they want to have a conversation with her about the fact of her, them realizing how wrong they were. And at first, she didn't want to talk to him at all. But then she realized that she needed to in order for her to move forward. So she has a conversation with them and made them realize that there has to be boundaries. So now she's married, happily married with kids, and has a great life. So what I want people to understand is we live up to so many people's expectations, but we never do what's best for us. And that's why people don't want you to be alone, because they don't want you to find yourself. They want you to find who you are as a person. They want you to continue to basically be the poster child of being treated any kind of way. And it's okay for them to do it. It's just like when it comes to domestic violence. A man hits you once, you would think you'd walk away. But you stay because you think you can build him up. And in the Bible, God says to meet people where they are. So just because you meet somebody where they are, it doesn't mean that you have to suffer because of them. God never said to lower yourself to lift somebody up. And if you have to lower somebody to lift yourself up, then these are people that you don't need to be with at all. So being on this journey of being alone since 2015, I dated 2 other dudes after that. And I realized that. I'm up here lowering myself for men that never wanted me in the first place. I done gave my body to men that weren't even worth me giving my body to. I've been sitting up here doing for everybody else and not putting myself first. This is the first, 2022 was the first time I put myself first. Well, yeah, 2023. No, 2022 when I started putting myself first. And I came to the realization that God was putting me in isolation because God was tired of me sitting up here suffering because I want to be a people pleaser, seed filler, captain, save a whole, build a bear, and build a doll. Because I'm looking for love and everything else except myself. He gave me my child because He knew that I was going to be alone, which is why I have my beautiful 28-year-old child with autism. And I do thank his father for giving me my baby, because I'm glad he did give me my child. So I am appreciative of that. So I'm happy that I'm able to do that. So I want people to understand that there's nothing wrong with helping people, but there's a way to help people where you don't have to be hurt. You don't have to lower your standards and what you stand for and what you believe in, your moral values, principles, and ethics, and your critical thinking, common sense, and common judgment, or your pros and cons as far as weighing them, to basically be a part of somebody's world that's never going to lower themselves for you. At the end of the day, why are you lowering yourself for people that are not worth you? It's just like all these people that want to be in relationships, and yet and still these people keep hurting you, lying and manipulating and bamboozling you and leading you astray. You're trying to live somebody else's life. What society is telling you what you need to be. Wearing makeup that's basically destroying your face. Going to get plastic surgery that in a few years you're going to have to end up removing because it's causing damage. Doing unnecessarily damage to yourself to fit a society standards that is so unrealistic. And all of it is because of money. You're destroying your health because society wants money out of you. You're working the rest of your life, and yet and still you can't do what you want to do. So yeah, as a kid you think, oh, I can do what I want to, go where I want to. No, you can't. There are laws, new rules, and regulations that basically come between that. Give me just 1 second. Okay. So even though, yes, you are an adult, but you're going to be working the rest of your life. You're going to be married and raising kids. So when is it going to be about you? See, when you're in your 20s, you should be not even worrying about friends or relationships. You should be traveling the world and seeing what's out there and meeting great people just to meet great people. But you shouldn't bring anybody in your world until you are in a place where you feel like there's a need for that. That every person that comes in your life, there's a need for that person. So that is why you should. But in the end, when you're sitting up here and dating people, and a lot of y'all talk about this, y'all say, oh, well, there's nobody out here for me. It ain't that. What it is the fact that you are dating people that are not meant for you. You have a lot of people that prey on people and prey on people's downfalls, unfortunately. So I get it. I do. I absolutely understand it. But at the same time, you deserve to be happy. But your happiness should begin and end with you. So when you finally realize the truth, and you realize that you've been hiding yourself, that you're not who you truly are. You are the representation of what society thinks you should be. It's just like when all these people tell you, oh, you're never going to get married. My response is, who says I want to be married? Who told you that I want to be married? Because from what I can tell, my happiness is with me. If I can pay my own bills and take care of myself and build a business and a brand to where I'm able to make money to basically have the best food, best health care, and to be able to help other people to build their own and not keep them in a bubble. And instead of trying to hold on to employees that basically deserve to be able to move forward, I'm just going to keep them in the same position. I'm just going to keep them in the same place and keep them stagnant. So that explains why relationships are the way they are. Because jobs can't keep people stagnant if this person is alone. If the person is alone, then basically they can't control you as easily as someone that wants to be loved, liked, appreciated, valued, wanted, needed to be a part of something, and all of these other good things. So, what I want to do, people to understand, is that I get it. I do. I absolutely even understand it. But at the end of the day, when you see the damage that has been done to you in your mental, psychological, emotional, spiritual, financial, and internal and external health, your whole perspective is going to be changing. It's just like people who have cancer and they get over the cancer, right? And then some years later it comes back. Should we really mess with that cancer and put radiation, or should we do natural treatment to make it better? Sometimes you can be given something that just makes things worse. So, for example, you have people that could have survived what they went through. But see, we would have to go into some very ugly truths that people ain't ready for. Majority of people that really are sick can be because of medicational issues. So it could be just about anything. It could be the chemicals that's in our foods that's causing cancer. But if we have to have that conversation, it would be kind of uncomfortable. So what I want people to understand is I get it. Trust me, I do. But at the end of the day, your life begins and ends with you. So I want people to understand that I completely understand. But there are a lot of people that deserve to be happy and deserve to have the life that they want. A lot of people have sacrificed to make everybody else happy, to make everybody else be where they need to be, but yet you're still in the same place. Just like Cinderella. Cinderella lost her dad, and it wasn't until she went to the ball that she met the prince. And what happened? The stepsisters tried to keep her from having her moment. What happened? She ended up having a moment anyway. Why? Because of the fact that she basically, essentially, deserved to have some type of happiness. So, what I want people to understand is you have a lot of people that want to keep you from your growth and keep you from where you need to be, unfortunately. So, I get the fact that for a lot of people, they may think, oh, I just want to be in a relationship. But here's the thing, if this person is not meant for you, then why in the world are you lowering yourself for other people? You're watching everybody else be built up, but yet you're in the same place. It's just like when you watch all these billionaires and you're sitting here like, I'm working a regular 9 to 5 job and I'm making these people billions of dollars, but I'm not doing what it is that I really want to do because I'm doing what everybody else wants me to do. That isn't what makes me happy. That part. So even though you may say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, as a kid, problem is you may not end up going in that particular direction, unfortunately. So even though you may say, okay, I deserve to be happy, I deserve to be in a relationship where I can find a good person, doesn't mean that you're going to find that person. So what I will say to a lot of people, do what makes you as an individual happy. So is it easy? No, it's not. A lot of people are so used to not being able to be the person that they want to be that eventually you become miserable. And then one day you wake up in the morning one day and you say, I want a divorce. And the person can't understand why, after all these years, you want a divorce. But the reason you want a divorce is because you are ready to move on. Now, you realize you done wasted your whole entire life building somebody else. And now, let's say this person passes away and leaves you with nothing. You don't even know how to work because you spent your whole life being a housewife. So now, how are you supposed to function when the people in your life are basically essentially not, you have no skills. So being that you have no skills, now you're in a situation where you don't know what to do because you basically essentially are not able to do anything because your whole life was centered around another person. So I get it. Life is not easy. So don't think for a moment, I don't understand. Trust me, I do. But at the same time, you have to understand your life begins and ends with you. So the fact that you are putting yourself last because of somebody else is a very huge problem. I think people need to start understanding that everybody is just the addition to you. If you got to go through all these hoops and bounds to be loved, liked, appreciated, valued, wanted, needed, to be a part of something, to be validated, to be approved of, to be accepted, for somebody to know your worth, then it's not worth it. If that person's not going to reciprocate what you bring to them, if that person's only around because they want something, or you done gave your body to something, now you have venereal disease, y'all got to get out of this basing things on somebody else and basing things on yourself. So I get the fact that for majority of y'all, you want to be happy. You want what your friends have. But maybe it's not meant for you to have what your friends have because you don't know what goes on in a marriage. You don't know what goes on with their kids. You may have a man that's married and has a bunch of single friends, and he thinks that he is cool to be single. But yet he gets out there and then everything is cracked up the bed. Now he wants to go back home. Problem is his wife wants nothing to do with him at all because of the fact he went out on the marriage. So yes, it's easy for times to feel like I'm missing out on something. I feel like that I'm not able to do what I want to do in a marriage. Well, this is what you signed up for. So what did you think marriage was going to be like? You thought it was going to be easier? Because it's not. So you can't be mad because somebody else is choosing that. So you can't be mad because somebody else is deciding to be out here and do whatever. But at the end of the day, your life is of your own. And it's unfair that you have to sit up here and look for something that's not meant for you. And what's even worse is you got people lying to people, saying to people, well, maybe if you do this, you'll be in a relationship. Lies. Lies. It's not going to matter if they lose weight or not. It's not going to matter whether or not they do all of these things you're saying. It doesn't mean they're going to have a man. It just means they're going to end up with men that don't want them anyway, that didn't want them when they were a certain thing or didn't want this man when he was a certain thing. So at the end of the day, just because you have money, just because now you lost weight does not mean that women are going to look at you any differently. It just so happens that women will be more so, accepting when it comes to a man that he's unattractive. But if he has money, then it more than makes up for it. But it doesn't mean she really wants him. And then the crazy part is these men get out here and they commence to cheat. So all I'm saying is, does it make it right? Absolutely not. So all I'm saying is, Every person deserves to be happy. Not not diminishing that, but being happy in what way? How are they being happy? So what I want people to understand, it's not easy, because it's not. It's definitely not easy at all. But what I want people to understand is it's okay to be alone. Because while all these other people are dealing with their issues with other people, you're now successful. You're building a business, you're building a brand, you're traveling, you're seeing the world, and you're doing well for yourself. And the people that are in place are people that are meant to help you and not destroy you. And I know it doesn't make sense for a lot of people. I get it. But at the end of the day, your life begins and ends with you. And whatever it is that you choose to do will be what is best for you. So I wouldn't be worried about everybody else and what everybody else got going on. I'd be worried about myself and what it is that I need to do that's going to be the best version of me. I wouldn't be worried about what everybody else got going on and what everybody else is doing. That wouldn't even be my focus at this point. My focus would be on my life and the life that I have chosen. That's what I would be worried about. I wouldn't be worried about the fact that I'm not in a relationship. I wouldn't be worried about the fact that I don't have friends. But what I would be worried about is a life that I have chosen. That's what I'd be worried about. I'd be worried about the fact that my happiness begins and ends with me. Because while I'm on this journey of being lonely, well, alone, I'll be researching. I will be becoming a better person. I'll be going to church. I would be living my life. I wouldn't have to worry about living up to nobody's standards. Because once you're on the top of the food chain, once you are up there and you're queen of your castle or king of your castle, then you're not going to be worrying about everybody else, because everybody else is going to want to be you and you're not even going to be concerned. So it's not about living somebody else's life, it's about living your own life and living your own dreams and living in what you feel is what is meant for you, not living somebody else's life. And majority of you, that's what you're living. Someone else's truth, somebody else's life. And that's why it's so easy for people to manipulate people because of it, which is sad. But at the end of the day, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I tell people this all the time. Your happiness begins and ends with you. So I get the fact that for some of you, you may feel like, well, nobody wants to be my friend, and all these people keep saying that nobody cares about me. And it's okay if they don't. It's okay that you don't have a man. It's okay if you don't have what all your friends have. What matters is that you have what's meant for you. So when your time comes and when the right person come along, will be when you least expect it. Based on what God feels the right person is meant for you. God's not going to send you someone that may be the best person, best looking person. God's going to send somebody that's mentally and psychologically good for you. Problem is when you get that person, you end up doing this person dirty because they're not society standard wise what you wanted. And that's the sad part. So I get it. I completely and utterly understand. But at the end of the day, I don't live my life based on other people. I live my life based on me and what my happiness is and what my truth is. So I'm not going to sit around and wait on grown people at this point. I am completely at peace with it all. I am. So I'm okay with my decision. So I'm not going to sit around and wait for grown people. For what? it's not worth the headache, the stress, or the strain of it. So I get it. I do. But at the end of the day, you have every right to live your life the way your truth is meant to be. But again, while you're sitting around doing your own thing and living your happiness, everybody else is going to be basically later on down the line seeing you in your new car, seeing you doing well for yourself, seeing you not worrying about these people that basically essentially used to be you. So now you're in a place where you have everything that you could ever want. So now you're doing well for yourself. And now these people are upset because you're doing well. Because you're not allowing anything to stand in the way of your greatness and what it is that's meant for you. So once you get to that space that you are happy, once you get to that space where you are good, you will see the difference. So I get it. Don't think I don't. Don't for the life of you think I don't understand, because I do. I understand better than what some people may think I do. But being I'm going through this journey, I can tell you from my own experience, my truth is based upon my truth and not by anybody else's. So I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. As long as you're living what your truth is and what your happiness is, that's all that really matters in all honesty. So I wouldn't worry about it. So for some of you, you may think that, oh my God, my life is over because I don't have any friends. Because here's the thing, as an adult, you don't have to accept that. But as a child is a whole different situation. Because with a child, they don't understand any of this. And when you have your parents that are pushing these narratives, it doesn't help at all. But what I will say is to anybody that's being bullied as a child, you don't have to deal with none of these people at all. You can continue to live your truth and what is best for you. So I wouldn't worry about all these negative people if I were you. I would just continue to be the best version of myself and keep it pushing. I wouldn't worry about trying to be like these jocks and all these athletes. Just be who you are. There are a lot of people that are taking off the makeup, the fake hair, the fake nails, and they're realizing that there's nothing wrong with them. That they should have never done any of this in the first place. So again, I want people to understand, I understand this better than you might think. But like I said, whatever you choose to do, whatever your life is intending to be, just understand that it is really absolutely okay. Just do what makes you happy, what brings you joy, and you should be fine. Because as long as you're doing what makes you as an individual happy, that's all that matters. Because all these telemarketers people calling me. So I'm just gonna leave it like this here. Your happiness begins and ends with you. The only way you can heal and recover is if you let go of all the feelings you had for all the people who wronged you and relinquish it. Let God deal with them. Let God give them their consequences, repercussions, and karma. Because trust me, they're going to get it. You just continue to thrive, continue to grow, evolve, and be the best version of yourself. Just continue to not let negativity get to you Don't let negativity make you feel like you're something is wrong with you, because you deserve to be happy. You deserve to have a man that basically has your back. So, what I will say is, you're worrying about the wrong thing that just doesn't matter at this point. So, as long as you're doing what makes you happy, then that's all that matters. As a life coach, this is a hard journey, especially recovery and healing one. And I myself am going through it. But when you see the end result of it all, it'll be worth it. When you see that you're not missing out on anything. Because there are people out here that, in all honesty, are like, I'm not missing anything. Because you're not missing anything at all. You're not missing anything, period. The only thing you're doing is living your truth the way you choose to live it. So I wouldn't worry about it. As long as you are doing what makes you happy, that's all that matters. As long as you are being the best version of yourself, I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. I just wouldn't. Just continue on and do whatever works for you. Nobody can tell you that you're not great and that you don't deserve to be accomplished, because you do. You absolutely deserve that. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. I wouldn't. Just be happy within you. Just continue every day to grow and be the best version of yourself. People gonna walk out. Things are gonna end. Sometimes you win some, and then again you lose some. But it is okay that you do. It is okay that you may not win something today. But guess what? You never know what tomorrow's gonna bring. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about the things you can't really do too much about. Just worry about what you can and not focus on what you can't. Because as long as you are living within your truth, that's all that matters. So I wouldn't worry about all these other people. I wouldn't. Because again, you're going to have people that's not going to be the best of the best. But all you can do is just say, you know what? I gave it everything I had. Now I'm moving forward with my life. Now I am doing what is best for me. And that's it. And that's pretty much all you can pretty much do. So I wouldn't worry about it. I would just continue to grow and evolve and elevate into something that is beautiful, that is you. Just move in silence. Don't let nobody know nothing. Because as soon as people find out what you're doing, that's when everybody's going to try to come in and destroy what you have. So I wouldn't tell anybody. Ooh, my side hurt. I would just continue to grow and evolve and be the best version of yourself that you can be. Ooh, I hate Charlie horses. So with that being said, I want to thank y'all for joining me for this episode. I'm your host, Coach TJ. Thank you guys for joining me. And now I'm going to rest my side because I have a Charlie horse. So that being said, I will talk to you guys later after this Charlie horse. Bye.